What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Same Philly Sports History for July 11th, 2023. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. No sports last night, no problem. We have a big show. But first, it is Tuesday. Time for a little bit of Tuesday positivity / motivation. And this quote I've seen a few times on social media over the past couple weeks, and I've seen it attributed to a couple different people, but definitely just something to stop and think about. And that quote is, everyone is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind always. And I think that's just good advice. You never know what somebody's going through. We talk about it a lot at work with the students. Just, you don't know. Everybody's trauma, as we call it, is different, and you just don't know what happened that day. So even if it's just saying hello, asking questions, showing interest, just being nice to somebody, because you never know how that could just turn around someone's day. And I know it's kind of cheesy, Mr. Rogerish, but at the same time, I mean, it works for kids, but it works for adults. I mean, sometimes holding the door open for someone, or just, I don't know, just saying hello even, making eye contact, just little things like that. Just be kind, because, again, you never know. Everybody's fighting something. Some days are worse than others. Some things are bigger than others, but you just never know. So just be kind. And if you take anything away from today's Tuesday message, just be kind to everyone. And just work at it. It's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to actually go out and do it. And just, like I said, if you're being kind is simply just not being mean to someone, that's okay. But just go out, be kind to everyone, and make today a good day. All right, so very, very big news before we get into today's episode. First and foremost, we might have some new listeners today, so if you are new, welcome. Quick explanation. This is This Day in Philly Sports History. Every day between 6 to 15 minutes, we go through what happened on this day in Philly sports history, kind of recap and go through what the current state of Philly sports is. I also have a weekly podcast, Back to the Future, with a PH. That's where we take a deeper dive into specific things that happened in Philly sports history. We do a lot of the team and season previews on there. That comes out, like I said, weekly. I am going to be recording either tonight or tomorrow for Thursday. I've been mentioning we're going to do something on the 2008 Phillies, hence the shirt. More on that, though, in a minute. But be sure to check them out, like, subscribe, tell your friends, leave comments. All those little things help us out with the algorithm, which leads into the next sort of announcement. And today is officially the 1-year anniversary of me being a podcaster. On this date, back in 2022, I released the first episode of Back to the Future. We're like 45 some episodes in right now, so be sure to go back, check the archive if you're new. Obviously, my delivery and style has gotten better and improved than it was a year ago. But just thank you guys all for your support. Wouldn't be here a year later if no one was listening. So I truly, truly appreciate it. Leads me into the next announcement. And due to all of your continued support over the year, obviously, you know, we have a partnership set up with phillygoat.com. More on them in a minute. However, I am pleased to announce a new partnership with the online newsletter of the 2008 Phillies. The 2008 Phils, run by a guy named John Foley. I've been following him for quite a few years now. I remember during the pandemic, he would keep us updated on the 2008 Phils, like this is what they did this day. And when there was no sports, it was definitely something I looked forward to every day, and consistently followed him on Twitter throughout the years. He recently started the biggest Phillies email newsletter in the world, as he likes to call it. And I have to say, it was a must-read for... It is a must-read for all Phillies fans. I actually reached out to him based on the newsletter. He basically writes articles about the Phillies. Did a nice all-star trivia that got delivered last night. He has guest posts. Just a great read for any and all Phillies fans. So with all that being said, in honor of our new partnership with him, as well as the 15th anniversary of that Phillies title, 2008 Phils and John Foley is offering a very limited time 75% off subscription for all This Day in Philly Sports History listeners. All you have to do is follow the link in the description wherever you're getting this. If you're getting it on Twitter, I will post the link in the comments section. But follow that specific link for This Day in Philly Sports History listeners and set up your subscription. Here's what a subscription gets you, though. There is a free version of the site, which basically, like most websites, you get the very bare minimum, just enough to make you want more, but then only the subscribers can get in. With a subscription, you get paid to the subscriber-only posts, community chats. There's a lot of good chats going on in there. Full access to all of the archives. And like I said, there's a lot of great articles, historical, current, state of the new Phillies, comparisons between teams. You name it, they have great articles, great discussions. You get this championship banner shirt, the 2008, for free. I love this shirt. It's one of my favorite. I'm sure you probably have seen me wearing it. The 2008 Phils Twitter handle will follow your Twitter account if you choose to. You get access to all kinds of special Phillies giveaways, whether it's tickets, autographs, those types of things. And with 75% off, it's only $2 a month, or just pay for the whole year for $20. You can't beat it. And this is specifically for This Day in Philly Sports History listeners. Again, follow the link in the description, or if you're on Twitter, in the comments. You know I stand by what I said. You know how I feel about Philly GOAT. 2008 Phils is the same way. I read it as much as possible. I love going back through the archives and seeing some of the things. It's a great follow on Twitter as well. You can get the newsletter delivered right to your inbox. You can go to the website and check it out. But like I said, last night it was delivered. I woke up to Phillies All-Star Trivia. I can't wait to just sit down and go through the trivia questions. But 2008 Phils, follow them on Twitter. Be sure to follow the link and subscribe to the newsletter. Like I said, it is a must-read for all Phillies fans. You won't be disappointed. You know I stand by it. And thank you for your support over the past year. Your support has allowed us to grow and work on these partnerships like this. So I truly, truly appreciate it. But go subscribe to 2008 Phils. Use that link in the description for 75% off. Come on, man. You can't beat that at all. All right. Well, we have an update on As the Harden Turns. And Patrick Beverley decided to put in his 2 cents. He was asked what he would say or how he feels, and he wants Harden to stay. I didn't come out and say it, but the speculation is part of the reason he possibly did sign with the Sixers was due to James Harden. They did play together in Houston. So we'll see. So that's 2 back-to-back days on 2 veteran players, Joe and now Beverley, saying, hey, we want you to come back, Harden. I think we're going to find there's not going to be – the Sixers aren't going to be able to get what they want for Harden, because Harden's not going to be able to be – he's overvaluing himself. And, I mean, it is what it is, but we'll see. But more updates on As the Harden Turns tomorrow, because I'm sure there'll be another one. Flyers made a couple moves, re-signed winger Noah Coates to a 2-year extension. Kind of a prove-it deal. I like it. They avoided arbitration with this. And as a rebuilding team, they're looking for guys that want to step up. And I mean, I think this is the perfect move for both sides. They've also re-signed defenseman Cam York to a 2-year deal. So we shall see. I like the moves. This should be a lot of growing pains next year, but it should be pains that lead to growth in the future. All right, so today we're going to go all the way back to 2005, and on this day, July 11th, 2005, it was the Major League Baseball Home Run Derby at Detroit's Comerica Park, and that was won by no other than the Phillies' own Bobby Abreu. He hit a record for then 41 home runs, 24 in the first round. Different rules back then. I think Vlad Guerrero Jr. won it with like 90-some home runs or whatever last night. But back then, different rules, but 41 at the time. And when he hit 24, that was like an insane. I remember it was an obscene amount that he hit. It was the first of 2 consecutive Phillies to actually win the home run derby. Ryan Howard won it the next year, and they still remain to be the only 2. But Bobby Abreu, is one of those guys that everybody has a very strong opinion on Bobby Abreu, one way or the other. In 8 full years in Philly, he was traded halfway through the 2006 season. I mean, his average was 305, averaged 23 homers, 94 RBIs, 38 doubles. He was a 5-time vote getter in the MVP race, 2-time All-Star, averaged 29 stolen bases. He was durable. He did not miss a ton of games due to injury, just only days off here or there. He did win a Gold Glove. More on that in a minute. But he was just consistent. You knew you were putting him out in right field. He was going to probably go 1 for 3, probably not going to run, score a run. And you just knew what you were getting with him. But he did have a nonchalant attitude, I guess would be a good way to describe it, that sometimes came off as he didn't put in the effort or didn't really try, even on defense. And I know there's certain people out there, like my brother, who would go and say Bobby Abreu was a terrible defensive player, just kind of loafed and whatever, and that the Gold Glove was just more based on his offensive statistics than anything. But like I said, I mean, people are either pro Bobby or anti Bobby. He's one of those guys that's very polarizing in this city. But I will say, even after the trade, ironically enough, after the trade, they went on a little run in 2006, and they got better when they got rid of him. And then 2007 is when they ended up winning the division. But I will say he's a borderline Hall of Famer, and in recent years, he's been getting more and more sort of support on that based on just how consistent his numbers were. I don't know. I mean, personally, and this might rub some Phillies fans the wrong way. I would love to. I'm sure there's a take on 2008 Phillies for this, but if Scott Rowland is a Hall of Famer, I feel Bobby Abreu is a Hall of Famer. And I'm not a Scott Rowland fan, so let me preface it with that. But I think if you're going to put Scott Rowland in, Bobby Abreu was maybe not as good defensively, but offensively, I put his numbers right up there with Scott Rowland during their time in Philly. Let me know what you think on that. I would love to hear what the comments and have a discussion based on that. All right. So speaking of Bobby Abreu, he might not be the best of all time in Philly sports, but Philly Goat is the greatest sports apparel company out there for Philly sports-based apparel, whether it's team, Philly-centric, you name it. Be sure to go check them out. They don't have these sweet 2008 shirts, but they have a ton of Phillies apparel out there. So be sure to go support the Phils for the second half of the season. Go to phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. Make sure it has the authentic goat on the sleeve. All right, we are running long today, but it is time to get into Philly Sports' Most Lovable Loser Tournament first-round action. And in the Flyers Regional yesterday, the 96-97 team, the 3 seed, did knock off the number 6 seed 2009-2010 with 67% of the vote. They will move on to the second round. And why not? Today, we're just sticking with the Phils. It's all Phils today on a Major League All-Star Break edition of this day in Philly sports history. And today we have the number 4 seed, the 1915 Phillies, versus the number 5 seed, the 1983 Phillies. Now, none of us were alive for the 1915 team, but they did go 90-62. They won the National League by 7 games over the Boston Braves. It was the first pennant in Phillies team history. Side note, we talked about Sherry McGee knocking out the umpire yesterday. He was not on this team. He was traded the offseason before, so he did not get to enjoy the fruits of the Phillies pennant labor. But that pitching staff allowed the fewest runs in the league. Hall of Famer Grover Cleveland Alexander had one of the best seasons for a pitcher ever. He won the pitching Triple Crown with a 31-10 record, a 1.22 ERA, 36 complete games, 12 shutouts, 241 strikeouts in 376 and a third innings. Gavy Kravitz was the leading hitter. He hit 285, led the league majors in home runs with 24, 115 RBIs, as well as a 510 slugging. He led the National League in runs, walks, total bases, on base, and OPS. So just an all-around great year for the Phils, and a very underrated team in the pantheon of Philadelphia sports teams, probably because it happened in 1915. And I mean, I had a couple great grandparents who were teenagers then, but I met them, never able to really be old enough to have a conversation about them because unfortunately they passed. They did lose to the Red Sox 4-1 in the World Series. They won the first game, and then all of the rest of the games they lost were one-run games. So they were in it. They just couldn't get over the hump of the Red Sox, and then it would also take 35 more years before they would get back to another World Series. All right, on the other side of the bracket, you have the number 5 seed, the 83 Phillies. They went 90-72, won the NL East by 6 games, so very similar. They were nicknamed the Wheeze Kids as a play on the Whiz Kids from the 1950s, mainly because they had guys Joe Morgan, Tony Perez, Pete Rose, Ron Reed, Bill Robinson, Steve Carlton, and Tug McGraw, who were all 38 years old or older. They did fire the manager mid-July, Pat Corrales, that year, just because it wasn't going well. After Paul Owens came in, it took over as manager. They went on a nice little run, took over first for good in mid-September. They played the Dodgers in the NLCS, who they went 1-11 against in the regular season, so it figured to be a Dodgers rout. Phillies came out, beat them 3-1. They won Game 1 of the World Series against the Orioles and then lost 4 straight. So both of these teams, the 1915 and the 1983 team, were up 1-0 in the World Series before losing 4 straight. It was 10 seasons for this team before they would get back in 93. As I always do, played this game out on What If Sports, and the 1915 team won 6-4. All of them were very, very close games, but the 1915, led by Grover Cleveland Alexander, pulled away and beat the Wheeze Kids of 1983. So now it's your turn. Be sure to vote on my social media, Facebook if you follow me, Twitter, TikTok, Jimbo_Mont, Instagram, Philly Jimbo. If you're listening to this on Spotify, you can there's the poll set up right in the app. Send me a text message, smoke signal, email, whatever you got to do. Let me know who wins the 1915 or the 1983 Phillies. Be sure to go to phillygoat.com, use that promo code. Please check out the link to our new partner, 2008 Phils. This is a specific link just for this day in Philly sports history listeners. 75% off, man. You can't beat that. It's a good website, good newsletter. Check it out. It's the Phillies. It's the largest email newsletter in the world that's strictly based on the Phillies. Give him a follow on Twitter too. He's got all kinds of highlights and cool things on there. So check out our new partner. Thank you for 1 year of being a podcast, listening to my podcast and listening to me go on and on and on. I truly, truly appreciate it. Remember, everybody's going through something, so be kind to everyone, whatever that looks like for you. Whew, long one today, and who would have thought with no sports that we'd have went long. But this has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Tuesday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.